Good morning. Happy football season, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram columnist Mac Engel, enjoying my morning coffee in my Field of Dreams cup, purchased at the actual Field of Dreams field in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. As you can tell, the good-looking gentleman on the other side of your screen is not longtime Fort Worth Star Telegram Dallas Cowboys savant Clarence E. Hill Jr. Our fearless producer, Candy Bolden, has yet to put together a new video intro. Clarence has moved on from us. He has not died. Clarence has left the Star Telegram, and we do wish him well, obviously, at his new professional endeavors. And until then, we will be filling in with very capable and maybe even upgrade replacements here.
That's hard to do with Jill.
No, it's pretty easy. That good-looking gentleman on the other side of your screen is the star of WFAA sports coverage, Mr. Mike Leslie. Mike has been in the area for quite some time. He's a proud husband, a father, and getting ready to be daddy number 2 any minute now. Mike, thanks for joining us and making time for us this morning. I really do appreciate it. More importantly, is there any chance at all you will be leaving the screen to go welcome baby number 2?
I think the next 15, 20 minutes ought to be safe. I think we can at least get through that far. We have a high school football broadcast tonight that I'm not as quite certain about. We are.
Are you serious? I mean, I really mean this. So what do you do if your wife, Erin, is very pregnant? And what do you do really if you get the call in the middle of the second quarter of your high school game tonight that you are play-by-playing? Like, what do you, like, sorry guys, bye. What do you do?
In that scenario, I'm Robert Griffin on the sideline of that college football. Was it I don't know if it was a semifinal or national championship game where he was out. Kind of same scenario. Heckma Harrison, who's our color commentator, he and I have talked this through a little bit over the course of the summer, and he'll pick up and run with it for, whatever is left of the game. And then if we have the ability to actually plan this, if this happens not on a Friday night in the middle of the game, Jonah Javad will jump in and call the game. If we've got at least, a few hours worth of thought to be put into this. But yeah, if we're in the middle of the game, Heckma, it's all you, buddy.
Will Jonah be there? So for viewers right now who may not know, Jonah Javad is a teammate of yours, obviously, sportscaster, fellow Emmy winner. Congratulations to your team, by the way.
Thank you.
Will he be at the game? Will he just be sound asleep in his Bengals gear waiting for the call?
Tonight, he's supposed to be with Joe at the game that they're going to be at for our high school game night show at 10 o'clock. So tonight, if things go in that direction today, I think it'll be Heckma that picks up the ball and runs with it. And then in weeks to come, we've got some. I don't think we were expecting it today. I think we were hoping we'd get through today without any surprises. But hey, we are on Mama's schedule. So
you said to me before we went on air, you said you don't know the gender yet. You have opted for that route.
Yeah.
You have a toddler daughter who is aware that she's going to be a big sister. Do you have any names? Like, do you have an assortment of names already kind of in mind?
We do have a couple names. We've got a boy name and a girl name, kind of pretty heavily earmarked at the very least, if not decided upon. So we're 98% of the way down that path.
When you went through that process, did you have any, did your wife ever throw any names out, or did you ever throw any names out where the other party said, nope, no way, we're not doing it. I'll move out and burn the house down. We're not doing that name.
I think with the last name Leslie, there are a couple names that just don't work, like Ashley Leslie just feels like it wouldn't really roll off the tongue very cleanly. You're just asking to lisp your way all the way through it. There were a couple that were like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. But I don't know if there were any outright, no, never going to do that. So.
I remember when we were going through that, we did like a bracket, like an NCAA tournament bracket. And I really liked the name. My wife really liked the name Lillian. And I was like, absolutely not. No way. I will divorce you right now. There's no way we're doing Lillian. And not that Lillian's a bad name, but I have a relative who won't be watching this, but I have a relative with that name, and I have memories that aren't great. So I'm like, no. And she really liked the name. She really liked the name. Like, absolutely not. And then one
So
of them,
how deep in the bracket did Lillian
that's
make?
that's a good question. I don't know
Did
if that was
Lillian
like
go on some like Cinderella run?
Yeah, right. He's got to the Final Four. And no, I don't think that was an Elite Eight name. There was one that I liked. I think we did like a 16 or 32. I don't remember, but I think the one that I really liked was Scout. And Scout is obviously the main character from To Kill a Mockingbird. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that name. And that was a hard no. My spouse said, absolutely not. We're not doing Scout. Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, we have our daughter, and we went back and forth. And I told her this story. And I'm sure at some point you'll do this with your daughter. I told her the story. I said, I really like Scout. And our daughter, who's 15 now, said, why didn't you do that? I really like that name. And so now that's why I'm like, well, sorry, honey, this is your name. Anyway, we can talk about this probably a lot longer. We can talk about
you got to check plus on your wife on that one.
Yeah. There is a list. You know what I mean? There's always a scoreboard someplace. It's always just a sheet. Hey. All right, Mike. So you obviously have covered the Cowboys for a long time. Season's getting ready to start next week. They have a bye in between their final fake game and the start of the regular season, which is next week in Cleveland. And this week, Jerry Jones does what Jerry Jones does and made headlines when he was asked by a local reporter this week at the Star in Frisco about the status of Dak Prescott's contract, because now that CeeDee Lamb is signed, there is some obvious thought that the next contract to go will be an extension for Dak Prescott. And Jerry kind of languaged his way through a non-committal answer, but basically said, hey, look, we've seen, if by now we don't know what he is, then what are we doing? We know what he is. And if we were going to do this, then we would have done it. Dak Prescott yesterday was asked about it, and he says, candidly, I don't listen to what he says anymore. It's a great answer. So there are a million ways to take this, Mike. I have my own thoughts, but I'm dying for yours. What do you make of this public back and forth, answer, non-answer, thinly veiled shot from the quarterback at the owner and the owner to the quarterback?
It's the Cowboys being the Cowboys.
Right. It's always a disclaimer.
This is who they are.
Yeah.
They have being at the top of the headlines down pat. This is what they do. I think the key piece of what Dak said yesterday was, I don't listen to what Jerry Jones says to the media. And honestly, on that, good on you, Dak, because none of us really should. Even those of us in the media, we don't have him say anything else to us. But yeah, what he says to the media is not always really what's happening. And it's not really always what he feels, what he thinks, what he's doing. It's posturing. It is trying to keep his team as the A block conversation on the ESPN and Fox Sports talk shows. That's what he's trying to do as much as anything else. And a lot of times wrapped up in that is a lot of nonsense that, yeah, if you're actually a player that plays for him, you don't need to bother with, because it's not really grounded in reality always. And this feels like one of those scenarios.
Mike, if you had to bet, will Dak Prescott, let me ask you these a couple questions. Will Dak Prescott sign a contract extension this season, before the end of the season?
No, because I feel like if it doesn't happen in the next 8 days, it's not going to happen, because there's no reason for Dak and his representatives to want to sign something in the middle of the season. He's going to hit the free agent market, and it's a free agent market that, who's the other quarterback? Who's the other QB that's going to be in competition with him for the Raiders job or the Saints job or whatever? Name a quarterback poor franchise that wants to back a Brinks truck up to Dak Prescott's house and prosper and say, hey, come be our quarterback. The Cowboys have treated you this way. Come play for us, and we'll give you. What's the number going to be? 62? I think it might start. I would say it's going to start with a 6.
Oh, it'll start with a 6.
It's going to be a ridiculous number.
It is.
He's going to break the market.
Do you think Dak Prescott will be the quarterback of the Cowboys this time next year?
I'm still above 50% on saying yes, but the number keeps dwindling. Like it was at
Wow.
the state of the team press conference in Oxnard that was the first time I really started to think, wow, they might actually not do this. And every time Jerry opens his mouth, it's like either this is entirely subterfuge or they're really not going to do this.
I would say two things. There is one bit of historical precedence that leads me to believe they will sign him to an extension this season, during the season. When Tony Romo, now it's a different situation, but when Tony Romo was in 2007 in a show me mode, like they were on the fence about it because he was much younger. He hadn't really proven himself. He had played in 2006 and led them to the playoffs. He was really good. Then they start out red hot. I think they started out 5-0 under Wade Phillips. And then they give him the extension in the middle of the season, like in week 6 or 7. So I could see that happening just because they've done it before. And with Jerry and Steven, it's not fair to just Jerry to put this all on him. They've done this before. And the other reason why I think he's going to be the quarterback is at some point, because of their experience and the scars that they acquired in the Troy Aikman to Tony Romo era, we're talking Quincy Carter, Tony Banks. You know, Tony Banks, they signed and cut Drew Bledsoe, Vinny Testaverde, Clint Sterner, Randall Cunningham. I mean, Ryan Leaf, they went through them all. Drew Henson, Chad Hutchinson. I just think at some point they're going to say, we're not going back. We're not going to do that again. We know what we've got. We like him. Here's $1 billion. The question for me is, does Dak and his representation say, if we're here, let's just wait. Let's just be a free agent and see what we can get. And I don't know. I mean, it's the grass isn't always green. Like, would you want to go to the Raiders or any of those? I don't know. I mean, at some point, what's the difference between 65 and 63? I know you got a union, you got a players association sitting there saying you better take that 65 for the next guy behind you. I get that, but I just keep coming back to this. I think if you're like 50-50, I'm more like 90-10. I still think he's going to be the quarterback this time next year, the Cowboys. And I know that frustrates guys, but I think that's what he's going to do. All right, let's move on. Speaking of contracts, one guy was signed after forever. The Cowboys doing what they love to do, which is wait until the last possible second to pay as much money as possible. The Dallas Cowboys finally came around and gave CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver who was in a contract holdout, $1 billion, making him the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. My question to you is, Mr. Leslie, who in God's name is his Robin? This guy led the league in receptions, targets, blah, blah, blah last year. He had a great year. So who on this team, and this is the thing that scares me the most about the Cowboys, who on this team, Mike, behind CeeDee, do you say, oh, okay, there's a weapon right there. We got to honor that guy because I kind of think I know who he is, and I'm not crazy about the answer.
I mean, I don't dislike what Brandon Cooks can do. I think that he's solid, but he's not. I'm not going far beyond solid. I think it took them a while last year to get him where they needed him to be. Back half of the season, he was pretty good.
He was pretty good. Yeah, he was.
So if he can do that again, and obviously he's a year older, so that's a question. You know, has he lost a step at some point? A guy whose primary skill is speed, at some point that's going to go. Maybe it's not this year. We'll see. But if that does happen, that takes a lot off of his potential. If he can be that guy from the second half of last season, I think that's a decent answer. The problem to me is they're going to have to do it all in the passing game because I don't know who's going to lead their running game. Their offensive line is going to have to do some yeoman's work because there's nobody in that backfield that scares any defense.
Is there any? See, I said it was Jake Ferguson, the tight end.
Yeah.
To me, when especially you mentioned the second half, he was developing into a really, really nice player and a good option in the middle. Now, the problem with those tight ends, they don't stretch the field, right? They're not making 40-yard plays. They're making 10, 15-yard plays typically. But he looks like he can be a pretty valuable asset.
Yeah.
But they traded away Peyton Hendershot for who cares? I mean, good for Peyton for making the NFL. They traded him away to Kansas City. There's no other tight end. I know they drafted Luke Schoonmaker, but Schoonmaker's a second-year guy. He did nothing last year out of Michigan because he was hurt. These other receivers, I don't know. I mean, they keep talking about Jalen Tolbert. He hasn't done anything yet. Jalen Brooks, all these other guys. Mike, and you mentioned the running back. If you're a defensive coordinator, do you just say, okay, we're taking away CeeDee Lamb.
Yes.
We're going to throw 10 guys on that. So now what?
Yeah, I think that absolutely has to be the focal point if you're a defense approaching this Cowboys offense right now, because he is by a significant margin their biggest weapon. And I mean, I like Tolbert. I thought Tolbert had a really good training camp, but it is just training camp. Now let's see it on the field for real. He's intriguing to me. I think there really is potential there. I think he could have a really nice season as their number 3 wide receiver. But again, you got to go out there and prove it in Cleveland week 1. Until that has happened, until and unless Brandon Cook shows that, hey, I've still got it, until and unless Jalen Tolbert shows I can do this when it actually counts. Jalen Brooks also to a certain extent is, but I'm excited about Jalen Brooks. I'm less excited than I am about Jalen Tolbert about Jalen Brooks. Until these guys show it when it actually counts.
Who cares?
Yeah, if you're a defensive coordinator, okay, 88, you're not beating us.
Right.
Let's see what the rest of y'all can do.
All right, we got more to talk about here on Cowboys Overtime. But first, let's hear from our great friends, not good friends, great friends at Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no interest payments for 60 months, 5 full years. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, back here on StarTelegram.com for Cowboys Overtime, sponsored by, yes, Window Nation. I'm Mac Engel. He is WFAA superstar, rock star, and soon to be WFAA station director, Mike Leslie.
Don't tell Carolyn Mungo that.
So we have more to talk about the Cowboys before we get into college football real quick. We'll wrap this up. The Cowboys are looking at, and I don't know if they've signed him or not. Have they signed Dalvin Cook? Is that deal's done,
Yes.
or is that okay? So they have.
Yep. They've signed him to the practice squad.
All right, so they signed in veteran Dalvin Cook, who a couple years ago was just an absolute beast with the Minnesota Vikings when he was with current Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer when Zim was the head coach in Minnesota. Dalvin spent last season with the Jets, didn't do a lot. Now, in his defense, the Jets were terrible. Aaron Rodgers was hurt, and no one was honoring or respecting Zach Wilson. So they were throwing 13 guys in the box, and they said, here, running game beat us. Oh, that's right, you can't. So now Dalvin Cook's a free agent. The Cowboys weren't crazy about what they had at running back. Right here, I'm president of that fan club. So now I bring in Dalvin Cook, put him on the practice squad with the idea, I am sure, that he will be on the active roster shortly. Is this an upgrade, Mike, or is this just a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid?
Can I split that baby? Like, there's part of me that feels it's. I feel like there's potential here because to me,
serious?
Dalvin Cook, huh?
Are you serious? You like this?
I don't know if I'm quite to like. I love
Bring your
I'm
daughter in here. We'll get her
okay. we're about to head to school.
All right.
You want to say hello to Cowboys fans? Say hi to Cowboys fans.
Finally. You're so pretty. Can we just, Mike? Why don't you go to school and she and I will talk.
All right, yeah.
Cowboys.
So what do you think about the Cowboys? Go. She said go. Her mother
at least
taught her to say
supporting
go
a
Rangers
winner
during the World Series. All right.
That's outstanding.
Okay, I'll see you later. Okay.
Be nice to your brother or sister. That's great. Thank you very much, Mike. That's probably the highlight of the show. That was great. That was outstanding. We appreciate that. That was good
Man.
stuff.
She has a knack for doing this when I'm live on
understand.
something. She did this on the NHL Network in May.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. We'll record this and send it to you because my daughter used to do that kind of stuff when she was that age. So
man,
that's good. That's outstanding.
She's got a knack for knowing. Oh, this is the moment.
This is the time. Now I need your attention. All right.
So back to Dalvin Cook
saving the Cowboys season.
What's that?
Finish your thoughts on Dalvin Cook saving the Cowboys season.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to that level. The thing I will say about Dalvin Cook, because there's a lot of Zeke Elliott comparisons that could be made here. Two guys that were at one point really good backs in this league that are now on the back end of their career. Dalvin Cook is closer to his elite past than Zeke is. We only got to go back 2 seasons to find he was a Pro Bowler 19 to 22. He was Pro Bowler 4 straight years with that Minnesota team where he was a really high quality back in this league.
Yep.
And I do wonder, to your point about last year with the Jets, how fair an evaluation can we give Dalvin Cook off of 4 snaps with Aaron Rodgers and then he's done for the year and playing with Zach Wilson all year? So I don't know. Was last year an example with Dalvin Cook? Okay, he's lost a step. He's not the same back anymore. Or was that Dalvin Cook in a scenario where how could you possibly succeed? Or is it both? I don't know. Until we see him on the field, and it's going to be probably a couple weeks because they want to ramp him up and get him to a point where he is game ready. So it may be week 3, week 4 before he's actually, dressing for the Cowboys on a Sunday. But behind I think anyway, better offensive line here in Dallas, and certainly playing with a more capable quarterback and passing game with Dak and CD and what they bring to the table. Maybe there's still some tread left on that tire. I don't think you're going past this season with him.
No way.
But maybe he could give you, I don't know, if he could give you 10, 12 carries a game and at least make an impact for the team, there's value there. And if you're giving those carries to him instead of Deuce Vaughn, that's probably an upgrade,
At least the one that I can't believe they've kept 2 guys on this roster who are basically 5'6" and 5'5". Seriously, I mean, you've got Cavante Turpin, who probably has a year or 2 left. If he stays healthy, and then you've got Deuce Vaughn, who they kept, great guy. And I'm like, what can you do with it? You can't put them in pass protection. You either give them the ball or split them out wide, and that's it. It's not like they're the same guy. They're not. But in terms of their ability in the passing game, you've got one eye. You can't do anything with these guys, and that's the part that this is along with the fact that they are keeping Trey Lance on this roster, and that they made that move does have a domino effect that affects that backfield, and it's not just the quarterback room. I know, Mike, we live in a devalued running back world. I can't think of an NFL team right now that has devalued this position more than they have. And you got to have something, and they got nothing.
It is interesting how far the pendulum has swung because they were way over here with that Z contract, and we were all bashing them for, what are you doing? This is the new age NFL. You can't pay a running back like that. And now they've completely gone back. And I will say
we did what you wanted.
At least down here, they're closer to where they need to be. Maybe bring it back to here. But they had pegged the needle on the other end, and at least they're not doing that anymore. But they've gone completely the other way.
There's only one part of this. Zeke Elliott's got nothing left. He doesn't. And then I know he's a good pro, and they like him, and he's going to try. It's not going to be. This guy's not stealing money. This isn't that. The guys who steal money are there, and they're not trying. That's not going to be Zeke. The part that concerned me about Zeke was if you watched his last season with the Cowboys, he was done. He just had nothing there anymore. And I know he was playing with a significant injury, which credit to him. He's playing with a knee brace. No running back plays with a knee brace, and he was. But last season in New England, there's nothing there. So to me, the part that I will hold out some speck of hope. maybe in a full-time capacity, Mike, maybe Rico Dowdle is just one of those running backs that falls from the sky. There's always a couple every year, and he cranks out 1,000 yards. Because other than that, I don't see anybody on this team that scares me. And it's like you said, you went from the extreme here, and now you went to the extreme here. Good luck, Dak. All right, we're going to move on to our final topic, and that is college football is here. Obviously, all eyes are on the University of Texas in the state because this is their first season in the SEC. They open tomorrow as heavy favorites against Colorado State. I think 32.5 points, and everybody's going to be watching is when will Arch Manning get in the game, because he's going to, and how that train wreck plays out. TCU opens tonight against Stanford. On down the list. The one to me that fascinates me is the team that we had so much hope for a couple of years ago, and then they bottomed out last year, and that is the Texas A&M Aggies. Consistently over the last 30 years, the most underachieving, overhyped program in major college football. So now they fired Jimbo Fisher, whose contract had defined that program in his tenure there. They bring in Mike Elko, who had been the defensive coordinator there before he was the head coach at Duke, did a nice job at Duke. Now he's the head coach. They open on Saturday against Notre Dame, their favorites. From all accounts, their defensive line is going to be spectacular. Talking about A&M. Question is whether or not the quarterback can stay healthy. Mike, are we sleeping on A&M at all, or do you expect, as a neutral observer, nope, same old Aggies?
Yeah, it's funny because I said something about 6-8 months ago that has people thinking that I'm an Aggie hater. I'm from upstate New York. I have no dog in the fight with any of these schools in any way, shape, or form. So I really am a neutral observer here. I've just seen the reality of what you're talking about. They, preseason number 8, preseason number 4, preseason number 12, and now you could say a lot of the same things about Texas. By the way,
Texas at least has won national championships and playoff games. I totally. You can't have a preseason top 10 without Notre Dame and Texas. It's right. Like, I think it's in the contract. But go ahead.
But no, listen, we've seen this song and dance with A&M many times over. I'm intrigued by the Mike Elko of it all. I do like that move. I think, it's a new voice. It's a very different voice. It's a very different vibe. Maybe that's what they need. Clearly they needed something different. So let's see if the something different is the right something different. Until we see that on the field, over the course of the next few weeks, we're not going to really know. But probably a little bit, because they do have a lot of talent down there. And we are so focused on, hey, Texas is joining the SEC. They've got Quinn Ewers. He's this Heisman candidate. They've got a chance to be in the playoff again. Like, that's where everybody's focus is, and deservedly so. Texas has earned that with the season that they had last year. So I think, there's probably a little bit of sleeping on A&M that's happening, because there is talent there. And if they can finally make that talent turn into actual, tangible, on-field success, there's reason to think that it could come together. And we'll see if Mike Elko is maybe finally the secret sauce there to make it happen.
If you had to pick which team in Texas, college team in Texas, will be the team that kind of comes out of nowhere and has a surprise, really nice season, and which team do you expect, nope, they're going to fall flat on their face?
I think before they played Nevada last week, I would have said SMU to your first question, because I think there's a lot of talent there. And I think the ACC is right, kind of gettable. I mean, even Florida State showed that in week 0. So I do still think that I like the fact that SMU was at least able to snap out of their haze and come back and win that game. I think there is some potential for them to have a season that makes everybody go, okay. 8-4 in their first year in the ACC, not bad. That's great. I think they'd be doing cartwheels on the hilltop if that happens. The team that's going to fall flat on their face.
You got candidates: Tech, TCU, Baylor, UT. UT's, first season in a major conference. I think we're kind of just assuming they're going to walk in and win 9-10 games. I think that's heavy. Houston has a first-year coach in Willie Fritz. They're certainly a candidate to be, one way or the other. The one to me, and it's not fair to say fall flat on their face. I don't see a lot of momentum right now at Baylor. And Dave Aranda did such a great job a couple of years ago, and they've taken such a major step back. He's got a lot to prove, and not much time to do it.
Honestly, as I sit here and think about it for an extra second, the answer might be Texas. They have so much hype, so much expectation, and it's like, hey guys, you got to go play in the SEC.
Right.
It's totally plausible that Texas goes 7-5.
That would be great.
It's.
I am at that point in my career, Mike. I'm like,
Clarence
awesome
right now, so that's sacrilege, in his world. But that's totally realistic. That's a couple of small upsets away from happening. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility at all. And they'd be despondent down in Austin if that happens. But it's absolutely a possibility. They could go 11-1. I'm not saying that they're going to have a bad season, but it's absolutely on the table that, wow, okay, guys, the SEC is even harder than we thought it was.
Mike, we just went way too long. I really appreciate your time. Congratulations to you. Best of luck to your spouse.
Yeah, Aaron just texted me. Kid just no, I'm kidding.
Okay. That is WFA superstar Mike Leslie, who will be father number 2 any minute. You can check him out on WFA tonight. What high school game are you doing?
Ennis at Waxahachie, the Battle of 287. 103rd time they've ever played.
Well, Godspeed you and your family, and hopefully your wife can hold on until tomorrow. If all of your Cowboys coverage needs, be sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. Thank you, Window Nation, and we will see you next week.